Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/Entitled People. In today's episode, babysitting means paying the kids' dental bills. Bullies got it back their way. You got yourself repoed. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. Babysitting means paying the kids' dental bills. Here's a fun one. Years ago, I would often babysit my neighbor's 9 to 10-year-old daughter. He was a divorced father, with the kind of ex that would send spreadsheets of child-rearing expenses calculated to the penny and weekly invoices, complete with terms and penalties of her own choosing for late payments. He paid big child support and generally paid her invoices on time because she would cut off access to kiddo if he didn't. His ex, the snake, and I had basic text messaging contact. She and I had a previous dust-up because a sudden weather change necessitated a jacket for kiddo. We popped into the nearest discount store and I let her pick a jacket. Kiddo loved it, but her mother threw a giant fit at me because it wasn't brand name. I blew it off on the neighbor and I laughed about it when he reimbursed me. She gave me the silent treatment, darn. Time moved forward, father always reimbursed kiddo's expenses and encouraged fun and healthy activities. One day, he called me and apologized that he was getting held up at work and kiddo had an orthodontist appointment. He asked me to take her, I agreed, and he called the dentist to authorize. We got there and they wouldn't see her without a payment, $225. It was necessary, kiddo's braces were hurting her. Dad wasn't available, but I knew he would reimburse me, so I put it on my credit card rather than call her snake of a mother. Kiddo got patched up, Dad reimbursed me, I paid the card, and didn't use it. A few months later, I got a past due call from my card company, repeat charges from the orthodontist. I let Dad know and called the orthodontist, who told me I signed an automatic payment agreement. I gave my heck no, I'm just the babysitter speech, and didn't get far with them, so I canceled the card. Dad apologized profusely and reimbursed me. A month later, I get a nasty call from the orthodontist about my card declining. I kindly informed them I'm not the parent and provide the snake's phone number. About an hour later, the snake is furiously calling and texting me. I silenced my phone and looked later. She maxed out my voicemail and all of her text messages were about how I was abusing her child by denying the kid medical care. One voicemail was from the police letting me know she filed a complaint, how I could get a copy for my attorney, and inquiring about whether I wanted to file a counter-complaint. I sure did. I moved out of state and the prosecutor called me once just to ask questions, then I never heard back from the prosecutor. Last I heard, from kiddo's grandmother, the snake took a plea bargain, Dad got custody, and grandma was enjoying a lot more time with kiddo. For clarification, friends, credit card fraud is illegal. Charging stuff to someone else's card is credit card fraud. She basically ratted her own self out to police by filing a complaint that I wouldn't let her steal from me anymore. She probably pled guilty to theft by deception, forgery, and/or both, or a combination of similar charges. I have never cared enough to try to find out. And, there is nothing in the world that obligates me to pay for dental care for someone else's kid. That is such a strange stretch. Just know. That's not a thing. I can't imagine why your neighbor divorced such a lovely woman. Or that he got her pregnant in the first place. Outstanding outcome. Glad you're out of that and the kid is safe too. There was an actual complaint made that went to a prosecutor. Or were you the victim that prosecutor was calling you for? 'Cause there is no charges for you that I could ever see in this. No. there was no substance to her accusations against me, and no reason to investigate me. She filed it on a complaint form, but the content was more of a confession, plus sniveling. They investigated and charged her. Only thing I can think of that would make a remote bit of sense is Snake thinking you were ex's new live-in girlfriend and not the babysitter. Of course, that would still not make you responsible for the medical expenses, but would change the duty of care. Of course, an entitled land sense is the rarest element. And the dentist should have been reported for credit card fraud. First, for the alleged repeat payment agreement, second, for still trying to charge the card even after you told them not to. What probably did snake in is her invoice/deny scheme. Courts don't look favorably on non-adherence with a custody agreement, either financially or via access. I was a nanny for a little guy, and at one point we accompanied the mom on a business trip for a week. It was, naturally, my job to keep kiddo entertained in a strange city whilst mummy was at work. I was assured I would be reimbursed for all expenses with my next pay. So we went to the zoo, we went to the small amusement park. We went shopping. For him, at the end of the week, I gave her receipts for just under $150, which was much less than it could have been as I covered some stuff myself. The mom, who had a very well-paying job, threw a fit. How dare I entertain her kid instead of keeping him holed up in a hotel room bored off his nut? I refused to back down and got paid, but decided to find a new job soon after. There's a gap in time between you filing a complaint and her losing custody. How did it happen? Kid probably got old enough to legally choose which parent to live with. Where I'm from, you can legally choose where to live from 12 years old. The wheels of justice move slowly. I assume dad was granted custody when mommy went to jail. The standard parenting plan requirements generally include clauses that shift custody for incarceration. The fact that this woman expected a babysitter to pay for her kid's dental is beyond me. I mean, that level of entitlement is beyond the pale. I know it's not the main focus of the story, but can we just take a moment to recognize how messed up automatic payments are? And how easy it is to get hooked paying for things you never asked for. A few years ago, I bought a novelty gift for my sister for $2 at FYE. They had a promotion where they would give you a free magazine. After the first issue, they signed me up for a 2-year subscription, $60. I had to call the magazine company who sent me to FI, who sent me to a promotion management company to get it cancelled. It took 2 months to get it cancelled. We need legislation to stop these kinds of practices. Did it say anywhere that you were on the hook for a subscription after getting the free magazine? Bullies got it back their way. I-17M study in an Indian school where bullying is like a side task of every popular girl and every backbencher and their prime target scholars and monitors. I am a scholar and class monitor, even though I try my best to stay on nice terms with every person, not telling teacher about class bunks, vapes, sometimes washroom session between boys and girls. It never helps me to not get bullied. All backbenchers keeps throwing things at me, hitting me while passing by, throwing my lunch, stealing my notebooks and important stuff, whereas all girls make it their mission to comment on insecurities. I'm not the most handsome guy, just an average 5 feet 10 inches guy. They keep mocking me for my looks, ugly face, shouting hate words to me and making me feel inferior in all possible ways. Last week it crossed limits when they told teachers some imaginary stuff I did and harassed a girl behind building for what I got removed as monitor, and multiple teachers shamed me, though I never did it. I proved it with CCTV footage, and all teachers apologized many times, with the school principal personally apologizing to my parents, but this broke me and spent an entire night crying. But then, I decided to make it my mission to make them regret. I started clicking pics whenever anyone vaped, smoked, did sessions in washroom or anything else. I got all the numbers of girl bullies who have been mocking me and wrote in every boy's washroom doors. Got all boys' numbers registered on multiple adult websites. Sent their pictures to many of their parents. I'm class monitor, so had their numbers. Moreover, I got all the pictures, wrote all the names and classes on back, packed and left it in the principal's room, an hour before anyone got to school from a back door only some PPL know. And guess what? In the past 3 days, over 60 students have been expelled, some for even a year, some rusticated. Every day multiple parents were called. I know what I did was wrong on many levels, but what I had been going through for past 6 years left me with no choice but to do this. I'm only writing this to get it off my shoulders. This is amazing. Good for you. The world's full of assholes. I try to be the nice guy all the time, but sometimes it's just completely useless. You did absolutely the right thing. Good for you. It's time these kids learned that actions have consequences. Carry on and hold your head high. Bravo! I was relentlessly bullied from the 5th to 8th grade. Teachers watched it happen and did nothing. You are, in my never humble opinion, a hero. Good job. And that's why kids are shooting up schools. The thing is, you didn't do anything to them. You just brought their own behavior into the light and let the dominoes fall. Very well done. Nothing wrong, man. Snitches get stitches, but getting stitched up makes snitches. The only thing you did wrong was trying to please a bunch of assholes. I'm glad you finally stepped up and did your job. If they wanted the luxury of relaxed rules and freedoms, they shouldn't have messed with the person who helps enforce them. You did well except for maybe phone numbers on bathroom walls. Oh well, they weren't much and most of them would even work. These girls keep changing their numbers like every month and year. You got yourself repoed. Several parking stories reminded me of this. Some people hate when someone parks in their spot, but everyone hates it when someone decides to take up more than one spot. Especially in a crowd lot. This was back around 2005 at the local mall. When parking spots used to be big enough to park a large vehicle with plenty of room to open your doors without hitting the neighboring vehicle. A friend of mine who worked in the mall made a few calls before he started his shift to gather at Lot X Row Y. Those of us who were free got together and pulled up to the location to see a brand new red Corvette taking up 4 spots in the front of the lot. It's not unusual for people who have very nice vehicle or classics to do this to keep from getting damaged, but they unusually do it towards the back of the lot. We all decide to park in a way that makes it impossible for this guy to leave. My buddy with an S10 and myself with a Ranger parked in front back up to each other. Another friend who had a Tahoe and one with an old Cadillac parked it back. And 2 friends who drive small Civic and Geo Metro parked at the back half of the Corvette, also making it impossible to open the doors to get in. Making sure that no one was sticking out of their spots and no one was touching the Corvette. We all decide to go to the mall to get some lunch. After about an hour or two, an announcement calls out, "Would the owners of a list of our vehicles please return to your vehicles?" After a 10-minute slow walk back out, we were all expecting to see mall security and an angry Corvette owner, but we were surprised to see 2 tow trucks and a cop. The angry Corvette owner is yelling at one tow truck driver to tow our vehicles while the cop keeps telling the angry owner they can't because we parked the proper legal way and he has to wait for us to move. The other tow truck driver takes notice of us and asks if we own the surrounding vehicles. And we replied yes. He tells us that they have a repossession order that Corvette and they have been looking for it for months. He points to the S10, and Ranger asked if we would pull forward enough to allow him hook and book and to hand his partner some papers. We agreed. When I got close to my vehicle, the angry owner started yelling me how it was illegal what we did, how he's going to sue me, and so on, the same old entitled rant. I get my truck, rolled the window down and pull halfway out to tell the angry owner that I have seen an open spot, so I parked there while motioning to the other tow truck driver to take the papers. When the tow truck was hooked, he gave a sign to give him more room to pull away and take off with the Corvette. His partner informs the angry owner that the vehicle was repossessed, which caused the angry owner to go ballistic. I found out later from my friend who made the calls. The angry Corvette owner was his boss and was arrested for assaulting the tow truck driver after the rest of us left. I don't buy this story. This feels like early Tumblr. Okay, but the end is a bit confusing. It sounds like the friend was arrested. No, my friend was okay, his boss was arrested. My friend was the only one who knew who owned the Corvette. I cannot believe this is real. How could you all park legally in such a way as to block in the Corvette without extending your vehicles into the driving areas of the parking lot? Also, why would your friend have not mentioned that it was his boss's car and he was calling the lien holder about it? How would he have known who the lien holder was or that the boss had defaulted on the loan? I do believe the story. I worked in auto lease collections and repossessions for 3 years. Coincidences do happen. My favorite story involved a guy whose car died and he was on the side of the road. He had called for a tow truck. A truck did pull up, and the tow driver got out, said hello, and looked at the car for a few minutes. This tow truck was not from the AAA or any roadside assistance. It was a repo truck, and the broken car was on his list to find. He towed the car. We got a very angry call. He hadn't made a payment in over a year. One of my favorite memories of that job. Question: what happened to the friend that worked for the former Corvette owner? I think he quit about a month later for a better job. I grew up in a small town and the Corvettes in the 90s were a hot thing. So many people had them but couldn't afford them, saw a ton of them being repoed. Always entitled owners too, lol. Back when parking spots used to be big enough, WTHLMAO, when did they change? If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.